Dreaming. How exciting. So, your words have power. We have the penultimate session today. This was going to be our last one. And then people wanted extra. So we've got a second session coming up later on in this week, which will be Wednesday afternoon/evening for you in North America, Thursday morning for us in Australasia. But here we are. This is what we're doing today. So this is the order. Ravin, Gary, Jackie, Alison. Thank you, Hannah. Great. Okay, a little bit about me. I work with speakers who want to share their important message, which you all do. And you do such a phenomenal job. And this is what we're here to do now, because your powerful words are making a difference in the lives of your audiences. And that's what really floats my boat, getting people excited about sharing their message. I've been a TEDx trainer for the last 5 years with the University of Western Australia, and I work with speakers to get them ready to do their TEDx and other stages, I may add. TEDx is not the be-all and end-all. My background is 30 years as a speech pathologist, so I'm bringing a load of clinical stuff to it. I've also got some myofascial work in there and a holistic approach to your speaker training. As you can see, you probably can't hear, but originally from Scotland, from north of the other Perth, I am now based in this Perth in Australia. Bit of a communication geek, and one thing that's not on there, those who know me well, kombucha enthusiast. Today we have a nod to Christmas, cranberry in taste. Cheers. Lovely, thank you. So, this is really exciting. Some of you will have done the survey that we put out, and as a thank you, we've devised an ebook. Even if you didn't do the survey, we'd still like you to offer you this ebook, The Essential Speakers Toolkit for 2023, featuring the 9 pillars of influential communication. This is something that 7 pillars I devised over the last 30 years as a speechie, but then we discovered after the survey that there were 2 pillars missing. So there's plan and promote. How is your speaking featuring in your planning for your business? And how do you promote yourself along with your purpose, identifying the people? What's their pain and their gain? How do you use your power of your voice? How do you use your physiology? How do you show your presence? How do you pull the whole thing together in performance? So that's the 7 pillars. And we've added those 9 as well, those extra 2. Thank you. So there's a download there. By the way, you will get this deck so that you can download it yourselves. Quick session there, housekeeping. This session is being recorded, as well you know. We'd love you to keep in touch with the chat box. Keep it coming. Keep interacting with us. If you haven't already found them, the reactions button is at the bottom of your screen. Click on that and you can celebrate. You can send some love. You can laugh. You get the idea. Okay? And those will disappear after a few seconds. I think they will. Okay. Panel session at the end. So keep your questions coming. You can pop your questions into the chat at the time. Edward will keep an eye on them so that you don't lose track of where they are. And those questions will be asked towards the end when we have the Q&A with the speakers. We've talked about the survey. Now, there's a gift bag, a goodie bag at the end of each quarter. Speakers, I haven't mentioned this to you as yet. We're going to have a goodie bag for, thanks, Brigitte. We have a goodie bag coming up from something that the speakers have donated to our best speaker champion, the person who has been consistently helpful with their speaking backup, their feedback. Alison was our champion for last quarter. So this is what we're going to talk about that over the next few weeks. And we'll announce it in the new year because, hey, Christmas is coming. Best speaker feature. Whoever wins gets their particular segment plastered all over our 7 socials, and you guys can use it as you will. You get your branded session. We ask you please to keep your microphone on mute unless you are speaking, and your camera on. Okay, let's have the interaction going. Now, obviously, if you've just walked out of the shower, you may want to leave your camera off until your hair is dry. It's up to you. But we would love you to have the camera on so we've got that interaction, because there's nothing worse for our speakers than seeing a row of black windows. They want to know you're there. Okay, thank you very much. Right, we are now about to take a photo. So, cameras on, please, guys. Unless you really don't want to be seen. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Anybody else coming on camera, please? Nice to see you, Brigitte. Thank you. Naroshni? You coming on for your dad? Maybe not. Okay. Ruby? I know it's early. Right, okay. We'll go in over to you. Who's doing this one, Hannah or Grace?
I'll be doing it, Wendy.
Grace, over to you, darling.
We're about to capture memory. So at the count of 3, everybody say, hey. Are you ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hey. Okay, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Hey. Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're just about ready. Can we go back to the screen? Thank you. We've done that bit.
Sorry. Wait. Again. Sorry.
Thanks, Grace. Much appreciated, darling.
It's lagging.
Okay. There we go. Can we go into present mode, please?
Wait. Sorry, it's lagging. I have to stop sharing for a while.
Well, while that was happening, we were finalists for the MAD category, as in making a difference, for the Roar Awards. We didn't win, but we were finalists, which is testament to the fact that we are making a difference. There we go. Thank you. And so are you.
Please.
Robin, can you pop yourself on mute for now, please? Thank you. So this is why we wanted to talk about this, because we have an opportunity coming up in a minute. Thank you. Next one, please. We have an opportunity for something coming up. I'll talk about the MAD book. We have a collaboration book opportunity, but I will talk about that a little later. Right, first off, we've done the welcome and introduction. We are about to have our first speaker. Then we will have Gary, Jackie, Alison, Q&A, survey launch, bye-bye. We will be very tight for time. So thank you very much. Let's crack on. Mr. Perriman, how many of us have had those teachers at school that made an impact? You know, some of them were for good and some of them, they could put you off their subject for life. I know I've been there. And I have to say physics was one of them. Now, physics was Ravin's pet subject. Now, if I'd had him as my teacher, it might have been a little bit different. So now, having given up his teaching role in schools, he's working with parents to help their teenagers navigate that tricky teenage time, particularly around their education. But let's face it, teenage years are tough at the best of times, and they seem to be even worse than they were when I was going through it a few years ago. So parenting teenage students. Ravin, tell us more, please. Ravin, you're on mute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and good evening for those who are not in the morning here. Now, recently I met a mom, told me that she understood what her struggling daughter was going through and that she was familiar with this experience. I said, really? Yes, she told me. I was 15 once. But I told her that was 25 years ago. Yes, the truth is she was never this teenager. In her days, there were no social media, no likes on Facebook, no great academic pressures as today, and no body image demands. Yes, all these factors play into self-esteem and daily measurement of self-worth of any typical 2022 teenager. And above all this, in her days, there were no school online. Okay, so after meeting parents and teenagers for more than, say, 4 decades, I can tell you that parenting today is a more urgent matter than it was a few years ago. Yes, parents are not frustrated. They are worried, knowing that there is a relationship between academic success and eventual life satisfaction. And they are anxious that their children will be forever a life failure. Yes, it's not grades that they are worried about. It's the future life of their teenagers. And they don't know what to do. There are 2 basic things that parents should know. There are 2 basic things, yes. And I must tell you, the first thing is to help teenage students. We have to understand them. To be effective parents, we must use the best information available to understand what is going on with the teenagers. You will agree with me. Teenage students of 13 are different from those aged 16 or 19. In each phase, it is important to know about the changes happening in a teenager at the physical level, at the mental level, at the relationship level, and most important, at the emotional level. Now, most of us have read in newspapers about a young 15-year-old riding a motorcycle at more than 100 kilometers per hour, where the speed limit is 40 kilometers per hour, without a license. Now, when the teenager was asked, why did he take that risk? He answered, I didn't think about it. But then this behavior can be explained by a knowledge of brain development during this adolescent period. Yes. Now today, due to the advent of scanning, we now know that there are parts of the brain that show especially rapid change and development at this time. 2 sites in particular may be mentioned. To be technical, the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. The limbic system associated with emotion, sensation seeking, and risk-taking develops faster than the prefrontal cortex, which is associated with development of thinking and problem solving. Thus, the 15-year-old motorist, okay, the limbic system had the upper hand on the prefrontal cortex. The teenage brain is indeed a special brain. It is special. We can consider the adolescent brain as sites are under construction. The second thing is, years ago, a 14-year-old student in Mauritius in an English class was asked to read a paragraph from a text by his teacher. He stood up trembling and mumbled some incomprehensible words. The teacher told him angrily, "Sit down, and you never read in my class," while some other boys were laughing. In the evening at the dinner table, the mother noticed her son's mood, asking, "What's wrong?" After some moment of hesitation, he explained, "What has happened?" The mother asking a very powerful coaching question. "What must we do now?" "I must read." "When will you start?" "On Monday." It was a Thursday. "No," the mother said, "you start today." And I listened. After a week, his uncle, who has heard him reading, told him, "You should listen to the news on the BBC World Radio every day." The year after, the same teacher asked the same boy to read a passage from an English literature text. The student stood up and started to read. There was pin drop silence in class. The voice, the tone, the pace, and the pitch were just too good. When he finished, the teacher said, "Very good. You've got a very beautiful voice." What can we gather from this story? 3 adults helped the boy in one way or the other: the teacher, the uncle, and especially the mother. Yes, every adolescent needs a caring adult to succeed. Well, if we have to summarize one word of all the research on what kind of parenting helps to create the best conditions for a child's and adolescent growth, it would be the term presence. Yes, presence. In a survey, when teenagers were asked, what are the greatest concerns? Guess the answer: not having enough time with the parents. Do you believe it? For parents, lack of quality time comes in as 4th most concerning priority. Yes. Today, after more than 40 years as an educator, I am like a lighthouse who guides parents and teenagers to navigate through the rough seas of the adolescent period. I have a 5-week, 12 hours group coaching program for parents whose teens are in schools. Now, concerning the story of the teenager who could not read well in class, some 15 years later, he won the Best Actor award in the English Drama Festival in the country, in a play called The Lighthouse. You may have guessed who that boy was, that teenage student in the 1970s. Yes, you're right, it's me. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Brilliant, Ravin. Thank you so much. Love it. Love it. And doesn't it show what a difference it makes when somebody believes in you? Oh, thank you. Yeah, and teenage years, things. I mean, I know there are a couple of parents of teenagers here and a couple of parents of teenagers who are coming up who will be listening to that and going, "Oh, yes." Thank you so much for sharing, Ravin. That was lovely. Thank you. And beautifully timed. Okay, thank you, Grace. So, Mr. Gradley, we've heard that teenage years are uncertain. So are adult years, aren't they? But from a different perspective. Who here remembers the global financial crisis of 2008? A number of us were impacted financially, job-wise, emotionally, psychologically. Gary had a gut full of all of them as a result of this. And he's used it as his stepping stone to create his leadership program. Gary, can you tell us more about creating more clarity and certainty in an uncertain world? Over to you, sir.
Greetings, everyone. Great to see you. And I'm excited. I'm excited about sharing this important topic about creating more clarity and certainty in an uncertain world. I think we can all agree that the world is in chaos. You know, probably the most uncertain in our entire lifetime, you know, with the war and global power struggles and, you know, and the finances and the recession talk and, global warming, et cetera, right? The list goes on. And so show of hands here, who has some of these issues on either your mind or someone you know is on their mind a lot, thinking about these issues and maybe concerned about how it's going to affect your future or the world's future in 2023. Yeah, absolutely. And when we feel uncertain, it's often, you know, these emotions, right? A variety of emotions, maybe, you know, maybe it's anxiety or worry or doubt or feeling stuck or fear, you know, or hopelessness, you know. And I've been at hopelessness. I don't recommend it at all. It's not a good place to be. So actually, if you would, please put in chat, what is your current level of uncertainty for 2023 on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 is low and 10 is high. So for you, please put in chat. I'll take a look at it later. For 2023, your level of uncertainty, 1 to 10. 10 is high, please. Thank you. And also, so a show of hands here, who would like to have more and feel more certainty going forward? Yeah, I know, absolutely. And it's human nature. We want that. We want more clarity and certainty and hope and fulfillment, right? And fulfilling of our purpose and our more successful business and positive impact on others. So let's talk. Let's talk about creating more clarity and certainty and success for you in 2023. And so for me, the foundation principle really is it's the power of choice, the power of your choice, right? Every moment, I believe that we're choosing our thoughts and our emotions, and it's either basically a choice of faith or it's a choice of fear. You know, it's our ability to choose our thoughts, our emotions, and our emotional focus. So we can all relate to that, right? You know, it really comes down to that. And it's really about where we place our attention. And it really struck me just recently that, you know, our attention is like, you know, where we focus, it's like a commodity or a currency, you know, just like time is. You know, it's a valuable, and that's something that we want to cherish and be able to manage well, because we know what we focus on expands, right? We focus on the positive, we know it expands. We focus on the negative, we know it expands. And that's what happened to me in 2008, 2009. As I just share my story here briefly, you know, I've had my own corporate training business for that, like for then it was 22 years, worked with 22,000 employees and leaders throughout Canada, the Caribbean, and Australia. Loved Australia when I was there. And, you know, making a good 6-figure income until the 2008, 2009 Great Recession, global financial crisis, when corporations, which was my client base, typically spend $0 on speakers and trainers. And so I'm working the hardest I've ever worked for an entire year, and I have zero income. I rack up $50,000 in credit card debt. I'm living off my credit card as a single income family earner. And I actually become cynical, and I become hopeless. It's the worst experience of my entire life. I would not wish hopelessness on anyone. It was horrible. And I'm doing this for several months, so focusing on all the lack and so on. And then finally, one morning, I remember it clearly, it was a February 2009 bleak winter morning. I'm in my side office over here, and I wake up and I just decide I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and I'm never going to choose to feel hopeless ever again. And so the light bulb went off. I had an epiphany. Well, Gary, it's just a choice, right? You can choose hopelessness or you can choose hope. So I decided that moment forward, I would never choose hopelessness ever again. And so that was a major, like, life-changing decision for me, a critical transition point. And then I felt led to actually talk to a number of successful people, business leaders, church leaders, community leaders. And what I saw when I talked to them, I saw how, they overcame their major life crises of, losing a loved one or divorce or serious critical illness or bankruptcy. They overcame it through as people of faith, through God's faithfulness in their life, that God provided for them and got them through these major life challenges. And so as I'm receiving this, I'm collecting this now, which I see as positive evidence. And it literally raises my faith from 2 out of 10 to like an 8 out of 10, right? Here I am in $50,000 in credit card debt and 0 income. So this evidence, positive evidence I see, raised my faith that much. And it was that faith, believing that God would have my back as well as it did all of them, that literally enabled me to pay off the $50,000 in credit card debt in 2 years. It was because of the faith, right? The faith in that. And then I felt called to pull these stories together in a book, and to publish a book called The Kingdom Promise: How Leading Canadians Choose Faith to Conquer the Storms of Life. And so as I followed my heart and as I shifted my focus from negative to positive, I survived and I thrived, and I actually discovered and developed what I now call as the 7 proven mindset principles, that when I practice these proven mindset principles, it gives me mental, emotional, and spiritual peace and strength and more success. And so I just want to briefly share 2 of them with you, just very, very briefly. We've already touched on the one, really, the principle of mental focus, choosing faith over fear, and collecting positive evidence. So the question I have for all of us really is, what evidence are we collecting? Where's our focus largely? So important, right, to be conscious of what we're collecting evidence-wise. Second principle is really follow your heart, your passion, your calling, your purpose, and ask yourself now even, what's been your experience when you follow your heart, follow your passion and your purpose. And actually just going to ask you to close your eyes just for a moment, if I may, and just recall a time, maybe the last time when you felt like really on purpose, you were on track, you were passionate, you were loving what you were doing and serving maybe some people or a project. And just relive how you felt, how that felt for you, and just relive that state, that emotion. Yeah. And as you open your eyes again, just reliving that. So I'm guessing it's probably true for you that when you were super focused, that you barely saw all the noise and all the chaos that might have actually been around you. Is that true for you? Was that true for you when you were highly focused? Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people, and that's definitely been the case. And it's really kind of like a magnifying glass in many ways, right? We take our magnifying glass here, and we know we're going to marshal the sun's rays onto a really focal point here, just like a laser beam. And we know that there's power; it can burn through obstacles. And so our passion and our purpose, when really focused, when we have clarity on it, is the same way. It gives us this like power to break through, to stay laser focused, and the greater the clarity we have about our future, the greater the hope and resilience and personal power that we have, right? Passion and purpose activates your personal power. There's power in purpose. And that that you are meant for much, much more, right? There's a seed of greatness within you, which is most alive when you are fully on purpose. And as the world becomes even more uncertain, I believe it's critical for you and for I to increase our own certainty by getting really clear on our own calling and our own purpose. And so as I begin to wrap up here, sharing that we've developed a proven process to increase your clarity and certainty. And it starts with a complimentary webinar challenge entitled Creating Clarity, Certainty, and Success in 2023. And it's January 10th, 11th, and 12th. in the evening, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And it's going to be a rare opportunity for you to really capture more tools and increase your empowering mindset to increase your certainty, clean up maybe your thinking, minimize your uncertainty, and grow your expectations for 2023. And to really kickstart 2023 with clarity and confidence by setting those goals that are in alignment with your calling, to really learn and apply these 7 mindset principles to strengthen you and be inspired, to make sustainable commitments beyond a New Year's resolution. So this is way beyond a New Year's resolution. It's going to bring you clarity and confidence and commitment and success. So don't miss us. Please come and join us, because remember, clarity is power. Clarity is power and creates certainty. So please come and join us. You'll be glad that you did. I look forward to seeing you then, January 10th. Thank you.
Well done, sir. Brilliant timing. Thank you for the wonderful message. And yes, isn't it amazing? Where our focus goes, energy flows. Beautiful. The details for Gary's webinar in the chat now. Please do link in, because it's going to be useful time for all of us here, possibly apart from Ravin and Ruby and those in Mauritius. Sorry, guys, it's stupid o'clock for you, but everybody else here present, go. Right, wonderful speaker number 3, Jackie Fowler Lewis III. Now, I'll be honest, sometimes life deals you a shitty deal. Forgive the language. But what do you do with it? Do you let that colour your whole life? Well, you can do. Or like Jackie, you can see those boulders as stepping stones to where you're going, rather than completely obstacles in the way. Jackie was in foster care system from the age of 6 to 16. We've heard from Ravin how important those teenage years are, and having some consistency, having a person who will listen to you. That was not there for Jackie, but he's jolly well making sure that he's there for other people. Jackie, can you tell us more about You Are Not Your Past? Over to you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, everybody, the year is 1993. There's a little boy in a room crying because he's lonely and he misses his mother. In the room across from him, a loud, frustrated, and angry voice says, "Nobody wants you. That's why you're here." If you were reading that story in a book, how many of you would think that that story has a happy ending? I know for me that I would not be too optimistic about that book. But that story is mine, and I am that boy. And if there's nothing that you take from these 10 minutes, I want you to know that you are not your past. So before everything started, my life began with 2 people, my biological mother and my biological father. My biological mother, she was addicted to drugs. I came to find out later on that my biological father was a pedophile, a match made in every other place but heaven. So what comes out of that coupling? I do. And with that, I have decided that I am not my past. I don't let any event, I don't let any person define who I am and what I become. Luckily enough, I was blessed to be sent to a place called SOS Children's Village in South Florida. They are around the world, but luckily enough, I was sent to the one in South Florida. There, I met my adoptive parents. There, I learned the concept of family put into practice. There, I've built lifelong friendships. It's an organization that has allowed me to do great things. So as a foster child, you tend to feel left out because everybody else can believe in Santa Claus. I knew he wasn't real because I saw the donors bring the gifts. You know, I knew that Easter Bunny wasn't real because I saw the donors paint the eggs in the community center. So, but with all that being said, it was a great experience for me. So I choose to view the positive. I choose to see what I could have been under those two. And I choose to accept who I became under my adoptive parents. Luckily, I was adopted by a lady named Nikitris and William Lewis. They aspire to do great things, and they instilled that inspiration in me. They are community leaders. My father is a pastor, so now I get to become a pastor's kid. I have faith instilled in me. I have the relationship of God instilled in me. And what better place is that to be? There was one time where the social worker came to meet with my adoptive mother. You want to guess what she told her? She told my mother, your son is either going to be dead or in jail before he is 21. And my mother, she looked her in the face and she said, you don't know him, and my son is going to meet the president. The part that's heartbreaking is that this person was supposed to care for me. She was supposed to have my best interests at heart. But the system fails children every day, and they expected me to go by the wayside. But yet I continue to choose, and I continue to understand that I am not my past. Fast forward, I am now 34. I have 3 kids. I have a beautiful wife. I am living my dream. Literally and figuratively, I am living my dream. There is no place that I would rather be because I understood that I am not my past. I've been able to publish 4 books. I've written a book, I dedicated a beautiful book of poems to my beautiful wife. I've written a book on how to maintain and cultivate a healthy marriage. I've written a book on, it's a workbook on how to create a life that you want. And my last and favorite book is a book dedicated to young men, and it provides them with instructions on how to become a man. It's called The Unexplained Reality of Manhood. With that book, it's a compilation. Too many times I've heard older people tell me, man, I wish I knew then what I knew now. And far too often, they never tell you what they know now. So what I did, I decided to take what I know now, put it in a book, and give it out to someone that can help. And I even intentionally priced it at a lower price. So I want my knowledge to be accessible. I want to help people. I've even gone to create a mentoring program. It's called the Royal Nature Mentoring. Royal Nature Mentoring. In that program, we help create lesson plans, life skills, and we create a community for young men and even into their adulthood. we have created a community so that they feel safe and they can have a place where they feel welcomed and wanted. And we can continuously instill in them that you are not your past. So if you would like to learn more about me, follow me on social media. I would love to work with you and your organization. I'm currently booking for the 2023. You can learn that not only did I make it through the system, but I can show you what I did to become a 4-time author and what I did to launch a global network and program that is impacting young men and boys across the globe. I would love to share tips and strategies on how your organization can be more impactful and how we can impact your community.
Thank you so much, Jackie. That was,
Thank you.
It was going to be powerful.
The timer went out. I don't know where it went, so I had to like guess on my time.
So we had a little bit of background going on there, but we got there. So thank you very much, Jackie. You did a phenomenal job, and yeah, what an amazing story. So
Thank
we
you.
have had 3 incredible stories. And Grace, can we have thank you. We're going to finish off with another incredible story. Alison Zeidler. You know those times when you're being about life and you're not a very nice person to know, and you can kind of end up being a Billy No Mates. Well, at least that's what they're called in the UK. Now, this was the position that Alison found herself in when she thought, something's wrong here. And it's the way I'm thinking. I need to shift something around here. So she flipped her script. She did some deep work in herself and came from anger and rage to compassion and joy, primarily to herself. And now she offers this for other women. Alison, tell us more about your wonderful story. Over to you.
Thank you. This is a story about metamorphosis, a journey from a constricted life to living a life of expansion, a story about a life filled with anger and rage to one filled with compassion and peace. I was in an incubator for the first 2 months of life, and the doctors didn't expect me to make it. A month later, my mom left my dad, and life after that was rather chaotic. By the time I was 15, my mom had been married 5 times, with quite a few boyfriends in between. I'd been adopted by 2 of her husbands, and she was also an alcoholic. So she made some pretty poor life choices, which of course affected me and my brother and my sister. So as the oldest, I took on the role of babysitter, cook, cleaner, and more, all the while doing whatever I could to be the peacemaker. Mom didn't allow others to have an opinion on anything. If you didn't think or do or say what she wanted, then you were gone out of her life. And as a child, that was really scary to watch over and over again. Mom's 5th husband was a doozy. He was a violent, manic, depressive druggie with lots of friends in the Hells Angels. At one point, we bought a guard dog. Unfortunately, Mom then decided to let David back in the house, and wouldn't you know it, he and the dog became the best of friends. There were many days I hung around the streets of downtown Vancouver trying to buy a gun. Luckily, I didn't. She was eventually able to divorce him and went on to marry 3 more times. I remember a party she had once, and she ended up having a nervous breakdown. One of her friends called her own doctor, and this is back in the day when doctors still did house calls. So this guy came and he gave her an injection, put her out for the night. And her first words to me the next morning were, "How dare I let that doctor give her an injection?" No, none of this is to garner sympathy. It's just a bit of background on some of what has shaped my life. I know now that she did the best that she could, but to get there took me a lot of years. I don't think she ever developed any self-esteem. She didn't believe in herself, and she certainly didn't think she deserved to be loved. So she definitely had lots of her own issues. All this to say, I grew up to be a very angry girl. I was unable to express my own thoughts, my own emotions. I was completely unable even to identify what emotions were buried beneath the anger. I agreed with virtually everyone. I wasn't able to voice an opinion, and eventually I even lost the ability to have my own opinion. I couldn't even tell a boyfriend that I didn't like a movie that he liked. In addition to all that, I was a control freak, and everything had to be my way. I was miserable. I was focused on my own misery and what a shitty life I had in comparison to everyone around me. I made others miserable too. I had one friend. I was incredibly shy. I couldn't look anyone in the eye. And I remember walking the halls in school, my books clutched to my chest and my eyes on the ground. Any hint of confrontation made me want to shut down or run, and I was unable to ask for what I wanted or to say no. I had no boundaries. Just lots of anger towards others when I felt put upon or taken advantage of. And that was most of the time. There were lots of feelings of guilt and despair, depression, suicidal thoughts, and I had an almost pathological need to be perfect. By the time I was in my 30s, all of the coping tools that I learned as a kid that kept me safe stopped working, and my life completely fell apart. I had to take a really long, hard look at my life, at who I was, who I wanted to be, who I didn't want to be. I needed to learn what I liked and what I didn't, what interested me, and how I wanted to conduct myself. That's when I started that never-ending journey of discovery. Started to figure out how to hear my own inner voice and who I wanted to be. I studied how other people acted, what they said, how they interacted with their friends. I did some counseling, took some anger management classes, and I started attending Al-Anon. And I remember the first time I stood up for myself, it was at the video rental store. They had told me on the phone that I owed them $4 for a late return, but I was pretty sure I knew I'd returned it. For 3 days, I stewed about what to say and how to say it. I finally got something prepared. I was so nervous. When I got up to the counter, he asked for the $4 and very calmly said, "Well, I think I've returned that video on time." And he said, "Oh, okay." And he didn't charge me. I couldn't believe it had been that easy. Now, I did realize that not every time was going to go my way, but it was definitely one of those turning points for me. I really could speak up for myself. I actually consider myself really lucky because I was able to spend the next 15 years single. I wasn't dating, and I was able to focus on dealing with me, finding out those underlying emotions, figuring out who I was. I had to forgive myself, my mother, and others. I developed friendships and became a better person all around. And I reignited my passion for helping animals release pain and stress. And I took a pet reflexology workshop. That turned into a passion for helping people. So I took a people reflexology course. Those 2 courses triggered a need to learn more so I could help others. And over the years, I've taken a lot of courses. I have a wall of certificates in my clinic. While counseling and anger management and other forms of the traditional sorts of therapy helped, some of the non-traditional methods have helped much more. And one of the best has been energy healing and working with energy that's all around us. I learned quantum touch energy healing. I offered sessions to my human and animal clients, and then I started teaching it. It's connected me and my spirit to something greater than myself, to the world and those around me. It's kept me grounded. It's given me a deep sense of compassion for myself and others. Animals in particular are very sensitive and require me to be grounded. I can't help them if I'm filled with anger and rage. I have to be present. We're working together in a high vibrational healing space. And helping others has allowed me to focus on something beyond my own resentments and pain. The more I was able to be in that higher vibrational space, the easier it was to stay there, connected and compassionate. I love sharing what I've learned, helping others work through their own trauma and pain, giving them the tools they need to move forward with their lives. I really do want to help others. I'm really passionate about it. We cannot be our best selves if we're stuck in this quagmire of unresolved pain. I pretty much like who I am now, although there's always room for improvement. I think that's a holdover from that pathological need to be perfect. But I have been able to come to a place of gratitude for the experiences in my life. And this journey of self-discovery never ends. I just found another layer recently. I'd held on to some resentments because I'd spent most of my childhood, all the holidays, in the hospital as a kid. So I resented my mother for that because she smoked while she was pregnant with me. But one of my colleagues suggested that maybe that had been the universe's way of keeping me safe, to keep me in the hospital a lot. So that was really cool. I still get really angry sometimes, but I have the tools to help me process and release that, so I'm not stuck there. And those who knew me 15 years ago tell me I'm a completely different person. I'm open, vulnerable, compassionate, patient. I even have a sense of humor. And the metamorphosis into someone new has been an amazing journey filled with heartache and love, wonder, and joy. I'd like to leave you with this quote that a dear friend of mine gave me. Trust so pure, there is no need for hope. Thank you.
Oh, wow. What an amazing story. All four of you. Amazing stories. Wonderful ways of showing that where you've come from does not mean where you're going. We've all been through some pretty rough times, all four of you. In fact, probably I would mention, I don't know all of the audience, but those of you who I do know, yep, that's pretty common to all of us. So well done, guys. Well done. Thank you so much. Now, have we got any questions for our wonderful panel? There have been some very lovely comments going on in the chat. So Gary, you've unmuted. Sarah, have you got a question?
I loved it. I'm inspired. And so thank you for everyone having the courage to share their life story and how therefore you are helping others to step up and have more impact on the world as well. So thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody got a question for our wonderful speakers? I'm going to ask a question. What would be one word that you would use to describe the flip that you've made? Okay, I'll give you 3 words. To describe the flip you've made from where you were, what was your tipping point? How would you describe that? Very few words.
Being in misery. That made me flip.
That was your flipping point, being in misery. Lovely. Thanks, Alison. Gary, you're unmuted, sir.
The power of choice.
Power of choice. Nice. Okay. Gentlemen. Robin?
Yeah, it's resilience.
Sorry, say that again.
Resilience.
Resilience. Oh, a single word. Thank you. The resilience is where you're moving forward to. Thank you. Jackie, what about you?
For me, my motivation was refusing to be a statistic.
Nice. Nice. There's that little rebel I'm noting in you, and certainly in you, Alison, Gary, just watch me. Is that something that you all relate to? Somebody said you can't do it, and all four of you going, yeah, just watch me. Love it. Love it. Okay. Any other questions? Really? Wow. We have wowed our audience so much. Thank you ever so much, wonderful speakers. Can we have self-acceptance? Yeah, Tina, thank you. That was a good one. What's one thing you'd say to someone in your position today? Oh, good question, Jenny. Who wants to take that one? What's one thing you'd say to someone who was in your position? With
I'll
your
go first.
Go.
So for me, I would say the goal is to not be like anybody else. It's to define your version of success and happiness and create a plan to get there. Completely disregard anybody else's opinion of yourself. The only opinion that matters is how you view yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, cool. Nice one. Gary, you're unmuted. Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I was going to say choose faith over fear.
Faith over fear. Got
Choice.
it. Thank you.
Faith over fear.
Alison.
Decide who you want to be.
Yes. Yeah. Ravin.
Just believe in yourself. And
That self-belief is important, isn't it? Sorry, Rami, I interrupted you. Go on.
yeah, and go forward. Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, we get to decide on who and what we want to be. Thank you, Jenny. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. We have a URL. Faith gets me through. That's great. We've got a URL for you guys. Please make a note of this. We will be sending out I think this is a clickable link, isn't it? Or the link will go into the chat. Please make sure that you take it down. And that's for all the audience and also the speakers, because you can support your fellow speakers by giving them some feedback as well. Apparently it's the wrong link. I'm sure Jenny's on deck. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. So we've got then the opportunity of giving these wonderful speakers some feedback in real time as to what impact was made by their amazing tales. Is what powerful stories we've heard today. Thank you, Grace. You can take that one down now. Thank you. And for those of you who want a bit more, not from these four, but from four other wonderful speakers, we have a bit more of a theme that pulling on from what Ravin was saying about supporting young people through school, teenagers, the combination of parents and teachers together. That's a bit of a theme for our session on Thursday morning for Australia, Wednesday afternoon/evening for America. That really will be our last session for Your Words Have Power, as it is at this time. Next year, it might look a little different, but for this year, that's our last session. So please do come and join us. Ravin, appreciating that that's stupid o'clock for you and the family. Okay, thank you. Grace, you can take that one down now. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so exactly. We have certainly had some very powerful speeches and we are almost out of time. Thank you. Anything last minute conversation, any last minute points? There we go. That's 8 o'clock. Anybody else want to say a last minute comment? A great way to start Monday. Well, this is what I say, Tina. It's inspirational coffee to start your week. Or those of you in North America, to kickstart finish off your weekend. Start early. Thank you very much, everyone. And we will see as many as you can on Wednesday night, Thursday. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye for now.